Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Pennsylvania Avenue. This is the follow-up to the 2010 production that you did called Songs for Nobodies.
That's right.
But this is not a sequel, is it?
No. Both, though, were written by Joanna Murray Smith and directed by Simon Phillips. And Songs for Nobodies being so successful, people wanted another Songs for Nobodies, and Joanna Murray Smith didn't want to do that. So what she's done is written a whole play. Songs for Nobodies was 5 little monologues, and this is a whole play with a whole arc about Harper Clements, who is she started out little girl from Thunderbolt, Georgia, and she gets into the White House as an aide, and then we hear it actually starts at the end when she's 40 years later in the Blue Room, which the whole play is virtually set in, of the White House. We've recreated that set. And she's packing up to leave and reminiscing on those 40 years she spent there.
Right, now Harper Clements is the entertainment coordinator of the White House. So that's
she's done
the
up
link
a little aid, but that's how, that's really how Joanna Murray Smith thought, what can she do to sort of use my talents as an impressionist and to bring singers into a piece without making it, it's pretty, but work. And the White House, of course, had so many different entertainers throughout the years, and she thought it'd be an interesting premise because she could use the singers that performed there, but also the backdrop of what happened over those 40 years, the different presidents, but also things like the civil rights movement, Vietnam, etc. So it covers a lot of things.
Now, she's not based on any character or characters or real life
people?
She's
not, but everyone who's seen it always thinks that she is real, because a lot of the stories in the play are true. And so it's sort of, she's interwoven through that, but she's fictitious. And a lot of people think that even friends who've seen it, because what we've got is the 5 portraits of the great artists, of the great presidents, the old presidents, but superimposed on those presidents are different things that go on through time. So the JFK assassination, we see the Kennedy photographs. Different things, and they've done a sort of bit of a Zelig thing and put superimposed me as Harper with President Reagan or Nixon. And people think that Harper, uncannily, I look like Harper Clements, and isn't that great? They found someone who could fit that role, whereas of course it was me.
Completely fictitious.
They dressed up and they've just popped me in with all the photos. So it's great, It covers everything, really. But it really is, she wanted to make it more interesting because Joanna's a fantastic playwright, so she wanted to make it with some substance about Harper and her journey, because she left that place with a deep, dark secret, and that sort of comes out as the story goes along, and she grows up and falls in love, and all sorts of things happen to her as well as happen around her. And then of course on top of that we have the singers come and perform and their stories as well.
Okay, well,
and the presidents.
Yeah, of course. Now that actually segues nicely with Joanna Murray Smith, because it's a bit of a power trio now of yourself and Joanna Murray Smith and Simon Phillips. How did that start? What was the origination?
I started it. It was years and years ago, and I saw a little bit of Bombshells, which she'd written for Caroline O'Connor, on an arts program, not unlike this one. And I thought, I'd love to do that. I think I could do that. And so, as it happened, Simon Phillips saw me singing at a corporate event. I do a lot of that sort of work, and I do funny impressions as well and stuff, and I knew he thought I was good, and so I rang the MTC, because he was then artistic director, and approached him about doing something, and he said, well, I'd love to, but it'd need to be a play, being the Melbourne Theatre Company, and Joanna Murray Smith seemed the obvious choice, and so from there the Songs for Nobodies finally emerged. And then that was so successful, and then Simon wanted to do something else. We all did, but he had, he's got the clout, particularly.
So what makes it work? What is it about the three of you working together that just...
Well, Joanna and Simon have worked together a lot, and they just admire and respect each other, and I think they're both fantastic, and my God, who wouldn't want to hang on to those two stars? So Simon is just so beautiful to work with, and he just, after songs, I think Joanna thought she could do something else, and it's fun, it's sort of a challenge for her, and she likes working with people that she already knows, and she can imagine what the way they are going to do, what they can do.
Yep.
And she challenged me a lot more. It's a huge role. It's quite a big acting role. So I'd done a lot of singing before, but and Songs for Nobodies was an acting role. This is even more demanding. Yeah.
So these characters, you take on a ridiculous number of singers from all through the eras. Edith Piaf, Billie Holiday, Barbra Streisand, Eartha Kitt, Sarah Vaughan, Diana Ross. I mean, are they impersonations, or is it more filled out? Is it more of a real character that you're working on?
I think with some of these people, I'd never even looked at before, like Sarah Vaughan. Great singers, Eartha Kitt, never before, but they really wanted to. And also, and Simon thought I could do a lot more than I was prepared to do, and they just kept pushing me. Because it evolved. I mean, we opened in November, but we actually started way back in February of that year, 15, and then it just, so I had to learn and develop the characters and watch them a lot and listen to them. But they're real singers, and they all had fantastic stories with the White House. So we wanted to use the real stories of these people, like Eartha Kitt and Sarah Vaughan, and put them in, and also they had great songs. So it's sort of a double whammy. So I worked on them, and I think, I caught something of them, I think, yeah.
So who's your favourite character to play?
Well, I mean, I change each night. I love Harper because she's the great one, but with different singers. I mean, sometimes we only get snippets of them, like Peggy Lee only has a little bit in it because she performed at the White House, but we don't actually have her performing at the White House. It's just we have a little bit of license. I love Aretha Franklin, another singer I've never sung before. She sings at the end, or nearly at the end, at the Clinton thing. So she really did do that. But she has a little moment with Harper. So we always sort of bend it and stretch and integrate it. But there's so much. Diana Ross, who I have sung. A lot of them, like Barbra Streisand, I've sung before. Diana Ross, Marilyn Monroe, some of those obvious ones, but I hadn't. Eartha Kitt. I'll get a few. Marilyn Monroe, but Maria Callas gets another go.
Maria Callas, Marilyn Monroe. Does that mean we get Happy Birthday, Mr. President?
It starts in darkness, and we hear a breathy bit of Marilyn Monroe before I even come on stage. So that's how we set it up. Yeah.
All right, a couple to wrap up. A bit more personal. Who is it in your life, whether it's personal or professional, that's inspired you? Somebody that's.
There's so many, I think. Actually, it's funny because although I have mixed feelings about Barbra Streisand, I am incredibly impressed by her because I just think she's got an abounding talent and has achieved so many things. And I think she's astonishing. So she is one of a surprising one.
No, she's certainly done a lot.
Yeah.
And finally, a lot of singers, actors, performers out there starting out and sort of trying to get some work and do some something that'll get them going. What's a piece of advice you could give them?
Try to have as many strings to your bow as you can, because life as a performer is always up and down. No matter how good you are, you're not going to have... maybe 1% has work all the time, and it's hard. So love it, but don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
That was Bernadette Robinson, whose show Pennsylvania Avenue will run from April 28 to May 22 at the Sydney Opera House. Check the website for all the details.